Hi, good day everyone. Welcome to Introduction to Linguistics. And we are discussing today's topic, which is phonetics and phonology. What comes in your mind when you hear phonetics? Maybe some of you, phonetics is the production of speech sound. Phonetics is a branch of linguistics. If that is your answer, probably you're right. Now, let us proceed to the lesson proper to give you an idea of what phonetics and phonology really is. What is phonology? Phonology is the study of how sounds are organized and used in natural languages. Phonology is just one of several aspects of language. It is related to another aspects such as phonetics, morphology, syntax, and pragmatics. Phonology is where you put into practice all you've learned in phonetics. It is the study of how sounds are strung together, or the phonotactics, how they interact with each other, and the rules that account for these processes. Phonemes are individual sounds describe a bundle of phonetics, features that differ from each other in at least one feature. For example, we know that P and B are both bilabial plosives and yet they are not identical. In order to understand how they are distinguished from each other, we can create a simple feature chart, marking a feature with the binary values as plus and minus. In doing so, we discover that the distinguishing feature is voicing. This is referred to as a minimal distinction or distinctive feature. Morphological and phonological processes are tightly interrelated. In spoken production, during a processing, morphological processes must combine the phonological content of individual morphemes to produce a phonological representation that is suitable for driving phonological processing. Phonology and syntax represent two layer of sounds combination, central to language's expressive power. Traditionally, phonology, where meaningless sounds from words, has been considered a simpler combination that syntax and thus should be more common in animals. Phonology and syntax represent layers of sound combination, central to language expressive power. Traditionally, phonology, where meaningless sounds from words, has been considered a simpler combination than syntax and thus should be more common in animal. Phonology deals with the study of how sounds patterns of language. Phonology deals with the study of sound patterns of language. Pragmatics deals with the study of language by considering the context in which it is used. It is not concerned with the way language is structured. Let's go back to the topic. Let's compare and contrast the phonetics and phonology. The difference between phonetics and phonology. Phonetics is the branch of linguistics deals with the generation, transmission, and view of speech sound. In other words, it is the study of how human speech sound are produced. On the other hand, phonology deals with the mental aspects of speech sound in a particular language. Phonetics deals with the production of speech sound by human, often without prior knowledge of the language being spoken. Phonology is about pattern of sounds, especially different patterns of sounds in different languages or within each language, different patterns of sound in different position in words, etc. Traditionally, phonetics deals with the measurable physical properties of speech sound themselves, precisely how the mouth produces certain sounds of the characteristic of the resulting sound waves, while phonology investigates the mental system for representing and processing speech sound with particular language. In recent years, however, the two fields have increasingly overlapped in scope. For our purpose, the important point is that linguists whether they are called phonetician or phonologist, have accumulated some basic conservation about how the speech sound or speech system of human language works. And these principles have a good deal to do with the physical properties of the speech sound in questions. Phonemics, that aspect of linguistics concerned with the classification, analysis, interrelation, and environmental changes of the phonemes of language. There are three categories of sound must be recognized at the outset. Phones or human sounds, phonemes, unit which distinguish meaning in a language, and allophones or non-distinctive units. All three, phones, phonemes, and allophones, are terms for a speech sound depending on how they are function in a given language. Specifically, the term phone is used when a speech sound is considered separate from language. Allophones are phonetics variation of phoneme that do not change spoken word meaning, while phonemes are those speech sound that serves a contrast meaning between words. For more information about these topics, here are my groupmates to discuss more about.
Hello everyone, I am Angel Joy Santos, and now we will be discussing about the father of phonology. Earlier we tackled about the meaning of phonology. Now we will be discussing about the father of phonology. So let's proceed. So the father of phonology is Daniel Jones. This is Daniel Jones. He was born on September 12, 1881 at London. He is a British and he was a linguist and a professor at the University College London. By the way, Daniel Jones is a phonetician who studied under Paul Sassy. So this is Paul Sassy. Paul Sassy is a professor of phonetics at the University of Paris. So did you know that Daniel Jones, or the father of phonology, was the head of the Department of Phonetics at the University College London, and also he has known for his work entitled the cardinal vowel diagram. So what is cardinal vowel diagram? So this is a cardinal vowel diagram. So it is a set of reference vowels used by phoneticians in describing the sounds of languages. And also, the father of phonology has a notable work entitled The English Pronouncing Dictionary, or the EPD. It was first published year 1917, and Daniel Jones was died on December 4, 1967 at Gerrard's Cross at the age of 86. Now let's proceed to the branches of phonology. Phonology can be divided into 4 branches. So these are the segmental phonology, suprasegmental phonology, diachronic phonology, and the last one is the synchronic phonology. So the first one is segmental phonology. From the word itself, segment. Segment is the smallest unit of language, such as phoneme, and segmental phonology is based on the segmentation of language into individual speech sounds provided by phonetics, and also it is also deals with the study of sounds such as phonemes and allophones and sound patterns, or the syllable. And basically, like what I said, segment is a sound, and technically speaking, it is a phoneme. So I will give an example for this branch of phonology. So for example is the word cat. The word cat has a C, A, and T. So basically, it consists of three segments. The first segment is C, the second one is A, and the third one or the third segment is T. So now, in this branch of phonology is what we do here is we take a segment and discuss those features. Say for instance, segment P. So P is a segment and its features are the consonant, plosive, bilabial, and the voiceless. The next one is the suprasegmental phonology. Suprasegmental phonology, it analyzes those features which extend over more than one segment, such as the intonation, the pitch contour or the pitch movement, the stress, the rhythm, and so on and so forth. So it also concerned with those features of pronunciation that cannot be segmented because they extend more than one segment or sound. So suprasegmental phonology rather, also known as the prosody. So by the way, we all know that the rhythm is a string of words that makes up a pattern of ascended and unascended syllables, while the intonation it refers simply to the variations in the pitch of a speaker's voice. Intonation is used to convey or alter meaning. Therefore, the stress is the intensity given to a syllable of speech by special effort in utterance, resulting in relative loudness. So, a while ago, I said that the segmental phonology it is a study about the one segment only. That this one is it involves the study of more than one segment. So the example for this suprasegmental phonology is that say for instance, if you are talking to a baby, we may adopt a particular set of suprasegmentals such as the intonation, the rhythm, the pitch movement, something like that. So we can adopt a different voice quality, such as with high or low pitch level or pitch register. Now let's proceed to the third branches of phonology. So the third branches of phonology is the diachronic phonology. What is diachronic phonology? Diachronic phonology, it studies the patterns of sound system through the history of language, and also it also referred to as historical phonology. So, diachronic phonology, also known as historical phonology, means that it is the study of the developmental of the sounds and sound patterns of a language over a period of time. And by the way, diachronic phonology was first made by the Swiss linguist Ferdinand de Saussure. So, and the simple meaning of diachronic phonology is that it examines or it investigates language changes. So, diachronic phonology and analysis can be the general evaluation of all languages or the evolution of a particular language or dialect. So I will give an example for this branches of phonology. For this branch of phonology rather. So the for example, say for instance, um, for example rather, it studies how one language or languages evolves from other languages. Okay, say for instance the evolution of French or on from Italian from Latin, and also the evolution of Hindi Hindi from Sanskrit. So those are some of the example of diachronic phonology. So the last branch of phonology is the synchronic phonology. So synchronic phonology, it studies the patterns of a sound regardless of the process of historical change, and also synchronic phonology is also known as descriptive phonology. So why? Because it studies the language which it is study of language which studies how people use of languages at one period of time. So like what I said earlier, or like what I said a while ago, diachronic phonology it deals with the development of language over time, while the synchronic phonology is um, ano, studies how people use of language at one period of time. So that's the difference between diachronic phonology and synchronic phonology. And also, a while ago, I also said that diachronic phonology was first made by the Swiss linguist Ferdinand de Saussure, and yeah, also the synchronic phonology. Synchronic phonology was also made by the Swiss linguist Ferdinand de Saussure, and yeah, that's the meaning of synchronic phonology. On the other hand, it is the process of historical change, and an example of synchronic phonology is for example, a comparison of language or dialects, various spoken differences of the some language used within some defined spatial region and during the same period of time. So that's just some of the example of synchronic phonology. So that's all for the branches of phonology. Okay, now the next topic is all about the branches of phonetics. So we all know that the phonetic is all about the studying of the sounds that we make when we talk or when we speak. So the first branches of phonology is the articulate the first branches of phonetics rather is the articulatory phonetics. So what is the articulatory phonetics? It is the study of the production of speech sounds by the articulatory and vocal tract by the speaker. Basically, it is the study of how speech sounds are produced or articulated. On the other hand, how speakers produce speech sounds. Okay, so that's the simple meaning of the articulatory phonetics. So, and articulatory phonetics is, say for instance, the consonant poo. Okay, how we how we pronounce the consonant p or the consonant k. Okay, and also in articulator phonetics, we have the speech anatomy. So in the speech anatomy, so this is the speech anatomy. Okay, and this speech anatomy is how the lungs necessarily produce energy. Okay, lungs are responsible for this branch of phonetics. Um, even the larynx, okay, which is um, which is responsible for formation, okay, and also the vocal tracts itself, okay, it modifies several articulators, which is the uvula, glottis, tongue, and the lips. Okay. On the other hand, we need air to produce sounds. Okay, we need air to produce sounds to speak. Imagine that without an air or without an airstream, like we won't be able to hear hear anything. We won't be able to produce sounds. Okay, so airstream mechanisms is very important, especially in this type of type of phonetics, the articulatory phonetics, because airstream mechanism is used to human speech to produce sounds. Um, in that case, we will be able to hear anything. We will be able to uh, speak something, talk something like that. The second one is the acoustic phonetics. So, what is acoustic phonetics? It is the study of the physical transmission of speech sounds from the time speaker to the listener. Basically, it studies the physical properties of speech sounds. Okay. It also involves the physical characteristics of human speech, such as the frequency, the friction voice, and etc. And also, um, in acoustic phonetics, we say, I said that the acoustic phonetics is all about the physical properties of speech sounds. So, um, basically, they have or they have a machine called the spectrograph. Okay, what is a spectrograph? So this is the spectrograph. Okay, that's the spectrograph. Okay, spectrograph is a machine. It is used to display sounds acoustically, such as the time or the duration of a sound. It displayed horizontally. Acoustic frequency of a sound is displayed vertically, and intensity is shown by relative darkness of the marks. So that's all for the acoustic phonetics. The last branches of phonetics is the auditory phonetics. So auditory phonetics simply it is about how sounds are perceived. Okay, and also it investigates the processes underlying of human speech perception. Okay. On the other hand, it's all auditory phonetics is all about the human hearing system. Okay, it is the studies of perceptual response to speech sounds as mediated by ear, auditory nerve, and the brain. Okay. um, the That's all for the auditory phonetics. Okay, the perception of speech sounds through the ears. Okay.
Hi guys! I hope you're doing good for today, and we're back again for another video. But for today's video, we're gonna talk about an educational vlog for you to learn from me. First and foremost, I want to introduce myself. My name is Jovelyn Hannah L. Aguilar, and our content for today is related about phonology and phonetics. But we will focus more on two topics that we will be talking about. But first, let us talk about why do we need to study phonology. Are you guys ready? Let's go. As we all know, phonology can be described as the study of sound patterns of human languages. And on the other hand, phonology deals with the mental aspects of sounds in a language. But the questions we need to answer is why? Why do we need to study phonology? So, we have three reasons why it is important to study phonology. First, it is crucial to learn phonology because it assists us in the learning and understanding of the language. The more you understand the language about the various sounds that are employed in a language, the better you understand the pronunciation of that language and how it impacts other languages. Second, phonology is important to learn since it seeks to investigate sounds and figure out why they occur. This also entails figuring out how a mental process in the brain is expressed of a series as a physical sounds. And also, this also enables phonologists to learn about the various blending distinct sounds. So, let me give you an example. In the past years, old speakers pronounce the word tune with Y, so it becomes tune. But as of today, younger speakers pronounce the word tune as ch sounds or the CH, so it becomes tune. Furthermore, it also helps other professions like singing. Singing involves the incorporations of various language sounds. There is a fusion of sounds from two or more languages in some tunes. And in order to create the melody of a song, it is critical to first understand the sound patterns of these languages, and studying phonology can attribute. In a nutshell, phonology is also associated with applied linguistics, and applied linguistics also includes language development and second language acquisition. So it is very impossible to find people from the same country pronouncing similar words differently due to the exact place they came from. For example, Black Americans pronounce some words differently from whites. But if we study phonology, it will provide us a better understanding to deal with stress, rhyme, and intonation, in all which we can have a dialect impact on meaning, form, and comprehension. I hope it has been clear for all of you of why do we need to study phonology. We still have a continuation to discuss, but before that, let us learn to the next discussion. Now, this is the continuation of our discourse, but it is a different topic. Earlier, we talked about why it is important to study phonology. Now, we will be talking about the 7 phonological rules. So, phonological rules are part of people's speakers' knowledge of the language. So, the function of phonological rules in grammar is to provide the phonetic information necessary for the pronunciation utterances, and we may illustrate this point in following the 7 easy ways. First is the assimilation. So this is the phonological process in which a sound changes to resemble nearby sounds and can occur both forward and backward within a word or between words. Or in other terms, when sound becomes more likely neighboring sounds with respect to some phonetic properties. For example, the prefix in or in, where sometimes it appears as in, and others may understand it as im or I am in front of the bilabial words like put or between. IN is pronounced with an M, so they will pronounce it as input or in between. Next is dissimilation. So this is two closely related sounds such as consonant or vowels that becomes less similar. Like for example, manner dissimilation in which a stop becomes a fricative when followed by another stop. Like the word six is pronounced as six, where XTH become ST. Next is insertion. So this is very easy since it is a procedure that involves adding a sound to a word. Like for example, many people pronounce hamster with a P and speak hamster in English. So they insert a voiceless stops between a nasal consonant and a voiceless consonant with the same location of articulation as the nasal consonants. The fourth one is deletion or elision, in which speech sounds disappears from words. Like for example, vowels can be deleted to make one-syllable words that are easier to pronounce in a fast manner. Like police become please and friendship becomes friendship. The fifth is metathesis. So this is where sounds switch places in the phonetic structures of a word. Like for example, to make words easier to pronounce and understand, letters are switched, and there are two historical examples includes the Old English, like they pronounce it as breed and ask, becoming modern English, which is actually a bird and ask. And the second to the last is strengthening or fortition. This is very easy because you will just remember that the sound is made stronger. Like for example, aspiration is where voiceless stop and becomes aspirated when they occur in the beginning of a stressed syllable. Top is said with an H, so like top. And lastly, weakening or lanation. So here is the opposite of strengthening because a sound becomes weaker. Like for example, fluffing is a phonological process of weakening whereby the voiceless obligor stops consonant phoneme. The T is pronounced as voice allegor, like flop, or like in the word kitty that becomes kitty. Usually this happens before a stressed vowels and stressed vowels where the sound is pronounced with the articulation resembling a flop. And in conclusion, knowing what they are and why they exist help us better understand our world because they are an element of communication through language, whether spoken or written. Understanding phonological types is essential for teaching English or working with persons who have speech difficulties. But our discussion is not yet about to end because you will learn more from the others in the next slide.
Hello guys, I'm Antoinette Mercado, and for today's video, I prepared two apps for my Q&A portion, and this one is for theory of phonology, and this one is for phonetics and phonology. This one is the difference between phonetics and phonology, and this theory of phonology, the two classic theory of phonology, which is generative phonology and natural phonology, and those people who created and developed that theory. So in this blog, I'm going to identify the questions, whether it is phonology or phonetics, and the two classic theory of phonology, which are generative phonology and natural phonology, including the person who created and developed this theory. Okay, please stay tuned and enjoy. So let's make it short and let's start my Q&A portion. So I'm going to start the Q&A that I prepared today. Let's start with phonetics and phonology. The content here is the difference between phonology and phonetics. I'm going to read the instruction or notes here before I start reading the question and answer.
You will just identify the statement or question that you picked, then answer it directly. No need more keme-keme.
Okay, let's start reading and answer it with no more keme-keme. Okay, I already picked. Symbols are enclosed in square brackets. This is under in phonetics. Let's see later. Like oh, okay. It describes how physical expression of human speech sounds are produced. This is also under in phonetics. Okay, phonological units are formed contrastively. This is also under with phonetics. Okay. These units are called phonemes. Phonemes is under in phonology. Phonological units are called phonemes. So this is under in phonology. Okay, next question. Symbols are enclosed in the slash bracket. This is under in phonology.
Phonemic symbols enclosed in the slash bracket. That is under in phonology. I will show you later the difference between the two.
Okay, next. Deals with the mental aspect of sounds in a language. This is under in phonology also. The next one. Here's the question. It deals with a limited number of speech sounds. This is also under in phonology. It deals with limited number, yes.
Here's the question.
Refers to the study of significant speech sounds. It's also in contrast to phonetics. So in contrast in phonetics, so this is a phonology. Next one. These units are called phones. So in phonological units are called phonemes. So phones is under in phonetics. Phonetics units are called phones. So this is under in phonetics. Okay, there is 3 remaining questions. There are 3 remaining questions. And this is the question. It is the branch of linguistics that deals with how human speech sounds are made. This is phonetics. Phonetics is a branch of linguistics that deals with how human speech sounds are made. So this is phonetics under in phonetics. Last 2 questions. It deals with a larger number of speech sounds. This is under in phonetics. In phonology, limited number of speech sounds, while in phonetics are larger number of speech sounds. Sorry. So this is the last one remaining questions that I will going to answer. Okay, phonetical units may not form contrastively. This is under in phonology. In phonetics, units are formed contrastively, while in phonology is phonetical units may not form contrastively. And that's all for phonetics and phonology, the difference between the two. I will going to discuss it later after answering the last theory of phonology.
Hello, I'm back. So, for this part, I'm going to do a Q&A for theory of phonology. So, before I start, I'm going to read the instruction also. Like what I mentioned earlier in the first note, you will just identify the given question and give your answer directly, like no more chemical.
Okay, I'm going to start picking. The first question is, natural phonology is a theory developed by who? Natural phonology developed by David Stamp, if I'm not mistaken to pronounce his name. David Stamp or Stamp? Stamp.
The next one question.
Here the question. In 1968, Noam Chomsky and Maurice Hale published The Sound Pattern of English, or SPE, the basis for generative phonology. This statement is under by what kind of theory? This statement is defined or describe the generative phonology. This is under in generative phonology. So next, okay, second question. Give the two classic theories of phonology. This is of course the generative phonology and natural phonology.
The easiest question. Okay, next.
The theory is expressed as behavior generated by running the associated system of process and representation. This statement also defined by what kind of theory? This is under in generative phonology. Just correct me if I'm wrong. Next questions that I picked. Tcharam! This theory is component of generative grammar. This is also generative phonology.
Okay, next.
Explain why children tend to simplify speech. Additionally, the enduring concept from Stamp's theory of what? This is the theory of natural phonology.
Okay, the next question. Ta-da! Okay, here's the question or statement. As
A theory based on a system or system of processes and representation. The statement described or defined by what theory? This is under the theory of generative phonology. Okay, next. Here's the question. Who was created the generative phonology theory? He is Noam Chomsky and Maurice Hale. In this view, phonology is based on a set of universal phonological processes that interact with one another, which ones are active and which are suppressed is language is specific. This statement describes what theory. 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 This is under a natural phonology. Theory. There are two remaining questions, and this is for the second class. Was the theory based on the publications of its proponent David Stump in 1969 and more explicitly in 1979? This is under in phonology, natural phonology.
Okay, last. No more questions. Last question.
Other than David Stump, natural phonology theory was also developed by his wife. And who is she? She is Patricia Donegans. Donegans. Okay, this is all the questions that I've already answered. So I'm going to discuss the difference between phonetics and phonology for your more information. Joke. Charot. To learn more and understand better. Okay, I'll be back. It's me again. Okay, I'm going to discuss the difference between phonology and phonetics, like what I've answered in Q&A portion earlier. I'm going to discuss for you to better understand the difference between the two. Okay, let's start with phonetics. Phonetics is the branch of linguistics that deals with how human speech sounds are made, while in phonology, in contrast to phonetics, phonology is the study of significant speech sounds. In phonetics, it describes how physical expression of human speech sounds are produced, while in phonology, on the other hand, phonology deals with the mental aspect of sounds in a language. In phonetics, phonetics units are called phones, while in phonology, phonological units are called phonemes. Next, it deals with a larger number of speech sounds, so this is a phonetics. While in phonology, it deals with a limited number of speech sounds, like what I've said in my answer in the Q&A. And next, as we know that phonetic symbols are enclosed in a square bracket. So this is under for phonetics, yung square brackets. While on the other hand, phonemic symbols are enclosed in the slash bracket. This is for phonology. A slash bracket for phonology, while in phonetics is enclosed in square brackets. That's the difference between the two. For the last difference, phonological units are formed contrastively, while in phonology, whereas phonetical units may not form contrastively, that's the phonology. That's the under in phonology, I mean. Yung may not form contrastively. Yung phonetics, phonological units are formed contrastively. And that's the difference between the two. I hope you've learned from these discussions and